I've lived in Arizona for almost 14 years now, and you probably know about the whole thing with racial profiling and SB 1070, and really anything about illegal immigrants you hear probably has something to do with us. Seems like the rest of the country just sees us as backwards and racist when it's really more complicated than that. For me, I think no matter what race you are, you gotta come in here legally just like everybody else. That being said, I think if a kid is born in the US to illegal immigrant parents, the kid should be considered a citizen. But other than that, I don't see why we should make an exception. My ancestors came over here fair and square. Why shouldn't they have to? Fuck that. You're legal or you're not. On the other hand, I was actually against SB 1070 when it came out, not because it cracked down on illegals, but just when I read the fine print, it said some pretty fucked up shit like making it against the law to give water to an illegal immigrant, and I just couldn't support that. Actually, I probably read more of the bill than any of the politicians who voted to pass it. No surprise there. But nothing about this pisses me off nearly as much as that self-important power-tripping asshole, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. This guy's a big part of the problem. He straight up admits to pulling people over just because of their race. His county actually lost the right to go after illegals. By the way, I live in his county. And the racist part isn't even close to where it ends. Now, when I was younger, I thought he was pretty cool and bought into the whole idea that he's just being tough on prisoners and people who break the law. But when I grew up and I realized that a guy who makes his prisoners wear pink underwear and tortures them isn't teaching them anything, he's just exploiting them and being a dick, I couldn't support him anymore. And you think that's bad? Somebody actually made a TV show about how shitty and unsanitary his jails are. This isn't the fucking Middle Ages. We're a civilized society. We have to treat everybody with dignity and human decency. Then there's fucking Tent City, where prisoners sit outside in ridiculous heat. Most of them are just awaiting trial, and they haven't even been convicted yet. There's actually been a few rulings against him, talking about how he tortures prisoners and how he feeds them moldy and rotten food and keeps them packed together for days at a time. And these are mostly people who haven't even been on trial yet. This is a guy who's ignored hundreds of rape cases and then tried to weasel out of it, but at the same time goes after a shit ton of official Arizona government workers for no legit reason, and the case usually gets shut down and thrown out from the start since they're so bad. And he misspent over $100 million and dipped into the money he got from a charity. Then there was another case where somebody was locked up for 4 years for an attempt to assassinate him. But guess what? Arpaio's detectives planted evidence to frame him. Seriously, does it never end with this guy? But the biggest problem I have with Arpaio is that he's a power-hungry, insecure douchebag who gets off on attention and treating people like dog shit. I remember a few months ago when his cops were basically setting up a police state at my school and arresting everybody they could see who looked even a little bit drunk. They were being total dicks to my friend's girlfriend. Then he screams at them and yells, "Fuck Joe Arpaio," every time he sees a cop car that night. I'm proud of that guy. And that's why Arpaio is so horrible to his prisoners. It's not to punish them, it's to make up for his own tiny dick complex. So people outside Arizona who are watching this, just know that we hate this piece of shit even more than you do. I don't know how he keeps his job, but we don't like him. And if you're in Arizona, it's up to you to vote one of the most fucked up people in power in the US out. You can be remembered for putting this guy down. You should be proud of that. I know I am. Subscribe.